From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Vince.
Complete nobody.
$324 million. That is the number of times people have watched a single WWE YouTube video. Not a WrestleMania main event. Not a championship win. Not John Cena. Not The Undertaker. The most watched moment in WWE YouTube history is Randy Orton kissing an unconscious woman in front of her handcuffed husband on a Monday night in March 2009. And here is what makes that insane. The man who did it was terrified. He called it super awkward years later on a podcast. He referred to it as the ISSK because he could not bring himself to say the actual word. He was hoping the segment would run too long so WWE would cut it before it aired. He did not want to do it. He did it anyway, and 324 million people watched. Then, 2 weeks later, he walked into WrestleMania and lost to the man who had been handcuffed to the rope, married in real life, to the woman Orton had humiliated. This video is about the distance between those two facts and why it has never been properly explained. To understand 2009, you need the backstory. In 2004, Randy Orton was 24 years old, the youngest world heavyweight champion in WWE history. He had been built inside a group called Evolution, Triple H, Ric Flair, Batista, as the future of the business. And then, Triple H had him removed. The official story. Evolution ran its course. What Orton said for years afterward was different. He said Triple H was jealous, that he saw how big Orton was going to be and felt threatened. Whether that was storyline or reality, Orton built his entire character around it. And in January 2009, he started acting on it. He punted Vince McMahon, he beat and punted Shane McMahon, he RKO'd Stephanie on live television. And when Triple H finally got involved, Orton had one clear goal. You ruined my life. I take everything you have. That is March 23rd, 2009. The most extreme version of a 5-year revenge story. Here is the part that changes how you see everything. Years after 2009, Orton appeared on a podcast hosted by Stephanie McMahon herself called What's Your Story? And he talked about this segment. He said, and this is real, that he was so nervous in the moment. He said he was not really realizing how cool of a moment it would have eventually been. He called the kiss super awkward. He literally referred to it as the ISSK, spelling it out, unable to say the word, even years later in a safe setting. And he said something that most people missed entirely. He was hoping the segment would run too long so that WWE would have to cut it before it aired. He did not want it to happen. A man who looked on television like the most confident, most evil, most in-control performer in the company was privately counting down the seconds hoping someone would pull the plug. That detail matters, because what it tells you is this. The most watched moment in WWE YouTube history was performed by a man who was terrified of it. Which raises the obvious question. If even Orton was scared to do it, who decided it had to happen? And did that same person also decide what happened 2 weeks later at WrestleMania?
Don't worry. I'm not gonna fire you. Yes.
I was being nice.
WrestleMania 25, April 5th, 2009, Houston, Texas, 70,000 people. Randy Orton versus Triple H for the WWE Championship. The main event, the payoff of the most watched segment in WWE YouTube history. And two things happened that night that cannot be separated. First, earlier in the show, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels had a match. That match is now considered one of the greatest in WrestleMania history. The crowd was on its feet, emotional, completely drained. And then Triple H and Orton had to follow it. Orton himself said backstage he watched Taker versus Michaels on the monitor and knew what was coming. He was right. Reports say the crowd had barely any heat going into the main event, and Triple H won. He retained the WWE Championship, and most people watching had expected Orton to go over, not because they liked him, because the story demanded it. You spend 6 months building a villain to this level, cross every line, DDT a woman, kiss her in front of her handcuffed husband on national television, and the villain loses clean. That is not a story. That is a confession.
Michaels caught! Michaels Stone! Pile driver! My second! In the final point of torture, the pedigree, Triple H proved...
Here is the question, and this video is going to ask it directly because 324 million views deserve an honest one. Triple H is married to Stephanie McMahon. In real life, Paul Levesque is the husband of Stephanie McMahon, the daughter of Vince McMahon, who owned WWE. When March 23 aired, Paul Levesque sat handcuffed to a ring rope and watched Randy Orton kiss his actual wife on live television, in front of millions of people as part of a storyline. 2 weeks later, Paul Levesque as Triple H beat Randy Orton clean at WrestleMania, after a build that every analyst expected to end with Orton winning. Did Triple H use his real-life position as the boss's son-in-law, as the most powerful backstage figure in that era, as the man who would eventually become WWE's chief creative officer, to ensure that the man who humiliated his wife did not get the WrestleMania payoff the story demanded? This video cannot answer that with certainty. No one can, except the people in those creative meetings. But the facts are there. You are smart enough to connect them.
Since I'm in charge, I can do things a little bit differently.
What if Randy Orton wins at WrestleMania 25? He was the hottest heel in the company. The most memorable segment in WWE YouTube history was his. The momentum of a 6-month build was behind him. A WM25 championship win would have been the natural ending of the greatest character arc WWE had produced in years. It would have validated every brutal, uncomfortable thing that came before it. Instead, WWE gave him the title 2 weeks later at Backlash, a 6-man tag where Legacy helped him win. That is not a coronation. That is a consolation prize. WrestleMania is the Super Bowl. Backlash is a regular season game. Orton had other great moments. His career did not end in 2009. But in 2009, the story of Randy Orton was the story of a man who crossed every line, created the most watched WWE YouTube moment in history, and was quietly put back in his box at the biggest moment of the year by the man whose real-life wife he had kissed, on live television, in front of 324 million witnesses.
Batista! The referee was about to disqualify Batista! Well, you're right. That's the only thing the game can do. Look at the kick! Or just hit Triple H's elbow!
Here is what the March 23, 2009 segment actually built in the long run. It did not build a WrestleMania championship win for Randy Orton. What it built was the permanent reputation of Randy Orton as the greatest villain in WWE history. No other wrestler in the modern era has a single moment that 324 million people have sought out and watched. Not The Rock, not Stone Cold, not CM Punk. Randy Orton owns that number. And the irony, the thing that makes this story genuinely fascinating rather than just sad, is that the segment worked too well. It was so effective, so uncomfortable, so completely over the line that it became its own entity. Separate from the championship. Separate from WrestleMania. Fans remember March 23, 2009 more clearly than they remember who won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 25. Many people cannot even tell you who main evented that show, but 324 million people know what Randy Orton did that Monday night in 2009. That is the paradox. The thing that should have been the greatest villain moment in history, the thing that was always going to be the reason Orton won the title at WrestleMania, became instead the thing he is remembered for instead of the championship. He crossed every line. And the line crossed him back.
You gotta be kidding me! Oh, did he do it? Did he get it?
324 million views. The most watched WWE moment ever. created by a 20-something kid who was so nervous he hoped it would get cut from the broadcast. The result, he lost at WrestleMania to the man whose wife he kissed. A man who was the boss's son-in-law in real life, and who, 13 years later, became the boss of WWE's creative. We are not saying it was a conspiracy. We are saying the facts are what they are. Orton crossed the line no one else would cross. WWE got its most watched YouTube video of all time. Orton did not get his WrestleMania moment. Make of that what you will. Randy Orton crossed every line WWE has ever had, and the man on the other side of that line went on to run the company. Make of that what you will. Subscribe to Alpha War Room. This is the history we dig up. See you in the next one.